Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Fast Five, starring Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Jordana Brewster, Tyrese Gibson, Chris Ludacris Bridges, Matt Scholes, Sung Kang, Gal Gadot, and Tego Calderon, and directed by Justin Lin. Now, before I get into this movie, I remember going to theaters for this and having a really fun time with it. Does it still remain the case with this day? Well, let's get into it, shall we? We pick up where the last movie left us, where Dominic Toretto, returned by Vin Diesel, is about to go to prison, as Brian O'Connor, returned by Paul Walker, and Dom's sister Mia, returned by Jordana Brewster, break Dom out of prison with cars against the prison bus. And the next scene, they're at Rio, Brazil, and they go to a family member's house who happens to be Vince, returned by Matt Scholes from the first movie, who's now married with a son named Nico, named after Dom, and spends the night at their place as Vince has a job for them, as well as Dom himself being led by Reyes, who's played by Joaquim de Alameda. I don't know if I'm saying that right, please forgive me. Whom I talked briefly about with Clear and Present Danger, and I will review him again in the summer when in the Hitman's Bodyguard. But I felt like after Clear and Present Danger, he seems to always play the bad guy in that big action movie films franchise. Brian and Mia go on the train as in an earlier scene. Mia finds out she's pregnant, as we learn earlier in the film, and looks up at locations to eventually retire, and they get started on the job, and they meet Dom with Vince at the train, as well as a couple of Reyes' men, and the Rio scenes look so freaking gorgeous. And the train heist is a good action scene as Mia and Vince get out of it alive, while Dom and Brian fall into a lake to get picked up by Reyes and his men, who killed DEA agents to get briefly tortured as they get out of it alive. Not Dom and Brian killing the DEA agents, but it was Reyes' men. But they get tortured and get out of it alive. And I like how quickly this plot is going, as it's an action-packed movie, to try to find a way to stop Reyes from being the kingpin he is at Rio and dealing with The Rock, who I'll discuss in a second. They get out of the torture alive as they're being hunted by everyone, including Luke Hobbs, played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who's introduced as a badass, as he'll go up against Dom later in the film. As I like the character, as The Rock has charisma as the character in any other movie. Hobbs asks for Elena, played by Elsa Pataki, who's married to Thor from the MCU himself, Chris Hemsworth, because of her smile, which is a funny request, I would say. Vince gets back out, and he and Brian almost get into an argument, and later on Dom finds out Vince didn't come clean with the job and kicks him out of the family, and he brings up Letty just to torment him, but I'll get to Letty at the end of the show. But I couldn't believe he did that, but it'll come up at the end of the movie with the next movie. Hobbs and his team hunts Dom, Brian, and Mia in Rio, as Reyes does also go after them in a prolonged chase scene, which honestly I didn't really mind that much, as it's entertaining the hell out of me, as Reyes' men get shot down as well, and Dom and Brian and Mia go in the sewers as they have to split up until Mia tells Dom and Brian she's pregnant and decides to stick together. And that was a convenient time, as it was earned from that scene on before we get to the rest of the movie. Dom decides to make a team to get Reyes for good and take his money with Robin Pierce, returned by Tyrese Gibson, Tej, returned by Chris Ludacris Bridges, both of them from Part 2, Han, returned by Sung Kang from the third and fourth film, Giselle, returned by Gal Gadot from the fourth film, Leo, returned by Tego Calderon, and Santos, returned by Don Omar, and the last two were in the last movie as well, as they're much better here than last time, as they're hilarious together. But they all meet and join up together for the first time in the series, and they all work great together, and this movie becomes the most fun and entertaining as it is. They begin the job by burning Reyes's money and warns him that there's more coming, or I should say burning. What am I talking about? More coming, which was a good way to scare the bad guy, excuse me. And this movie does action scenes right. Reyes puts the rest of his money at the police station, and I love Roman's line where he says, "This just went from Mission Impossible to Mission Frickin' Sanity," which made me laugh as hard as the Coyotes R Us line from the first movie. And I was busting my ass off when he said that. This is the second film in the series that made me bust up laughing so damn hard. They set up their traps by first things first, Roman putting a robot car in one of their boxes as it drives around to find the safe. And the second thing is putting Leo and Santos in the toilet cleaning business as they first make the pipes explode, which was hysterical as hell as I'm busting my ass off. I think it's hilarious. Dom and Brian get back up from real gangsters as they know they're wanted men, and they take the gangsters' cars as they give them the test drives for the job and get some more faster cars, and they get a safe of their own to replace Reyes's as Giselle gets his handprint on her panties, and they get it successfully thanks to Giselle, and that was clever to show off herself to a man as she gets his handprint on the whole, and the whole team gets wanted by Hobbs. And I thought, they're screwed. But Dom gets an idea to get some fresh air with the Brazilian gang in the order to let Hobbs find them and confront them, to arrest them, while Tej puts a tracking device on the cop's truck. I forgot the S at the end, my fault. And the gang has a crap ton of guns to get the cops away, and Dom goes after the neck thing that he has, the cross that he wore throughout the series, and I like that fact. And I like the fact that these characters have something to do, like Mia looking at the computers to Tej, putting tracking devices on the cops, and Giselle getting a handprint on her underpants. And I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but that's true in this movie anyways. Is it just me, or does Dom have a thing with Elena? As she had a husband who was a cop who was killed in action, which is an interesting arc for the character. And seriously, Rio looks really good, and I like the way it's shot in this movie. Dom, Brian, Roman, and Han race a quarter mile at a couple of lights, and Dom purposely lets Brian win because he's having a baby coming, which is sweet, but it was also pretty funny as this is a funny movie for an action film. Reyes's men tracked Mia while she was at the supermarket, and Vince comes in to save her life. And as they get back, Dom invites Vince to their barbecue, and as they're eating, Brian tells the gang Mia is pregnant, and Vince is in to stop Reyes for good. And I like the scene as I'm having fun with the characters. The gang gets prepared to steal Reyes's money as Hobbs enters and smashes Dom's car, and Dom versus Hobbs fight is a kick-ass fight scene, as I love the hell out of it, as it's two tough guys beating each other up. As one is a typical tough guy, that's Vin Diesel, and another one is a wrestler, The Rock from the WWE. And Dom almost kills Hobbs, but decides it's not him, and he surrenders. That's not necessarily Dom, I should say. And he surrenders and are almost taken in until Reyes' men blow up and kills off Hobbs' team. Until Dom and his team, mercenaries, let's say, shoot off Reyes' men thanks to Elena, as Hobbs realizes Dom and his team are not the bad guys. It's Reyes, and after the explosion, Elena and Hobbs go to the hideout, and as the team of mercenaries almost bails on Dom, Hobbs wants to kill Reyes for his team of cops, as Vince unfortunately dies on Dom's hand and makes a promise that'll come up later at the end of the film, which I found very touching, honestly. I'll get there. And this action works great. The heist begins with the cars busting through entrance and grabs the ginormous safe. That's Reyes. And Brian and Dom drive off with it and makes a mess all over Rio to take down the buildings like a bank and half a dozen cop cars going after them, and makes dozens of tight turns, as this is the best action in this whole movie. No other action movie can top the destruction that they're doing in this movie. Not even a Michael frickin' Bay film. I mean, it's amazing how much damage there is all over Rio, and Han and Roman crashes the cops on the sidewalks disguised as cops. And they go on the bridge as Reyes starts following them as well, and Dom goes towards the cops and Reyes and crashes every single one of them. And Dom makes a stunt that would have almost killed him, but makes it out alive before he ever goes in the water. And Reyes almost kills Dom, Reyes almost has Dom killed until Brian shoots his final guard, and Hobbs comes by and shoots Reyes himself. And Hobbs tells Brian and Dom to leave the safe and gives them 24 hours to get out of there. As they take off without the safe, Hobbs soon realizes the safe is empty, as they still have the money, as Dom gives some to Vince's wife and son, whom we saw in the beginning of the movie, which was a heart touching thing, I'll say, with Brian and Mia having a good life at the beach before the baby comes in, and Dom ends up with Elena while on vacation. Han and Giselle go to Tokyo and make their time to get there. Roman lives his life as a rich man. Tej opens his garage to fix cars, and Leo and Santos gamble for more money and bet big, as the credits roll to a mid-credits scene where Hobbs is told by Monica Fuentes, returned briefly by Eva Mendes as a cameo, telling him Letty is alive. And I like the way the message was sent for everyone, and during the credit scene sets up for part 6, and it's a good lead up for the next movie. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 8.0 out of 10. This is an entertaining ride, as there were times it made me bust up laughing, and it was a hell of a lot of fun. I like the fact each character has something to do, as they worked very well together. It makes me have fun with this movie, as every character is fun, even The Rock's character. It's now to the point that nobody is taking this seriously anymore, and turning off your brain and having a fun time with the Fast and the Furious movie, and I recommend this as a fun time at the movies. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with Fast and Furious 6. And until next time, let's race.